Welcome to Livzenastrology, the channel for updates and reflections, where we are grounded in the stars and elevated by consciousness. Thank you for tuning in. Hello, cosmic friends and family. It's been a while since I've popped on here, since I've been online. Thank you guys so much for being a vibrational match for this transmission. It's been a bit showing up for myself and showing up for you guys and showing up for the we, for the us, for the all. All is self. Self has been going through some deeply transformational. I smile through tears because this is such an interesting time to be alive. Not only to be alive, but to experience all that it means to be alive, including going through the death process. Sorry. Been navigating distractions and staying focused, which is part of the reason why I wanted to pop on here today and just talk to you guys. If you're a vibrational match to this live broadcast, thank you so much for being here. I welcome comments. I welcome reflections, as we are not meant to do this life alone. And I just wanted to talk to the energy, or about the energy, through an astrological perspective. Also from a just navigating energy in general with everything that's been going on cosmically, globally, internally, as within, so without, as above, so below. Lots of us know that we are changing, that we are going through deep metamorphosis. It's more than just a transformation. It's an all-out becoming a new species, if you will, a new species of human. This week, if you guys ever follow the gene keys, this week they're discussing gene key 55, which if you've researched the gene keys, or Richard Rudd, he's very much a proponent about the new human and about what it means to be the new human. And astrologically, we have some configurations coming up that we've never seen before as a human consciousness, as a race. We've been basically moving out of Pisces, going into Aries. A lot of the transpersonal planets, the outer planets, the ones that take longer to oscillate, are going through a metamorphosis. They're changing signs, they're changing frequencies, moving from Piscean, water, emotion, deception, revelation, spirituality, how we see spirituality, moving more into the fire element of Aries, which is individuation. It's about the self. It's about moving out of the collective energy and moving more into an individuated state, right? And going from water to air, or to fire rather. So we can begin to feel these shifts emotionally, spiritually, physically, mentally, financially. It's just everything is shifting. And so what does that even look like? How is that showing up for you guys? Well, for me, I don't know if you guys have followed livzenastrology, and if you do, thank you so much for following the channel. It's been a interesting road showing up and, being a content creator and showing up for yourself and showing up for others, and the consistency, right? So going into the energy of the transmission, I'd like to, first of all, anybody that's watching this, if we could just take a couple of deep breaths together, because I don't know about you guys, but I've been feeling a bit of a brain fog, kind of hard to keep thoughts together. This is also, Mercury and Sagittarius. It's kind of an interesting, challenging configuration, but staying grounded, staying focused, that's part of the lesson, part of the journey, especially with the nodes of the moon right now being between Virgo and Pisces. And we'll talk about that in just a few minutes. But before we get into any of this transmission, I just feel the need to ground. I'm feeling right now even kind of spacey, kind of foggy. I was, really set on sharing with you guys. And then as soon as the camera turns on, it's like, oh, I guess it's because I work with collective energies. So I'm feeling the collective energies of everybody, which I've kind of been offline for a while because I've been feeling so many energies, connect collective energies from everybody. Um, so it's been a process for me to learn how to stay in my own lane, to ground, and yet also be present with you guys. So let's just take a few moments. Again, if you're a vibrational match to this channel, thank you so much for being here. I know it's been kind of a little bit of a weird start for me, but it's been a while since I've been online. And sometimes when you do that on again, off again, start, it's hard to get back on to the starting point. So thank you if you're still here. Thank you. I'm kind of rambling. But let's just go ahead and take a few breaths together so that you can really be clear and coherent, not just about what's coming through, but how we process and integrate the information, right? So sometimes we just need a few clearing breaths just to clear the fog, because that's one of the cards that came up today was fog. So let's just, if you want, close your eyes, take a few breaths. I like to do the 4 square breathing, which is inhale for 4, hold for 4, release for 4, and at the bottom of the release, hold for 4. We'll do that 4 times together. And again, it's just really setting the intention to receive what you need to receive today, because none of us are meant to do this life alone. And it's, even though some journeys are very solo, um, we are also here to be very Age of Aquarian with each other in community. And so this is the astrology community. If you follow astrology, if you speak the language of astrology. And so let's breathe together so we can get these transmissions and get coherent as a community and what we need to receive today. So I'm going to close my eyes. I'm going to inhale for the count of 4, 3, 4. Hold for 4, 2, 3, 4. Let it all go for 4, 2, 3, 4. And hold at the bottom for 4, 2, 3, 4. Let's do that 3 more times. Inhale for 4, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Release nice and slow. 2, 3, 4. And hold at the bottom for 2, 3, 4. Inhale, 4, 4, and hold, 2, 3, 4. Let it all go. 2, 3, 4. And hold at the bottom. 2, 3, 4. Last breath for 4. Release nice and slow for 4. Hold at the bottom for 4. Wherever you are in this now time moment, just allow yourself, if you're willing, to receive the transmission, the gifts of words, of reflection, perspective, coming from the spirit of unity, consciousness, of oneness, is all is self. I am you, you are me. And again, if you're here in this now time moment, this message is for you. This energy share, it's for us to help us navigate and to help us receive more of that which is for us, and to filter out anything that's not for us. Whatever is here for you in this live transmission, it is here for you. And if it's not for you, please discard it with love and grace. Just let it go. And this is for everything, for everyone. All the content, all the media, all the things that we've been consuming, we're going through this filtration process. If you follow astrology, a lot of astrologers have been talking about the axis points of the nodes of the moon, which is the south node is our gifts and talents that we've come into with. And the north node is where we're going, where we're supposed to use these gifts and talents that we have accumulated. So the gifts and talents right now that we all collectively are experiencing or can tap into are the gifts of Virgo, which is systems. learning about systems, right? Learning about everything in the body has a system, whether it's your endocannabinoid system, it's your digestive system, your hormonal systems. We all have systems. And so, for those that follow this particular channel, Lives on Astrology comes from the premise that all is self. So, that which is going on outside of us is a direct reflection of what's happening inside of us. And so, with Virgo, it's about learning our systems, learning how systems work. Everything has a process. And that's what Virgo is all about, it's processes. And so, the world can feel very chaotic and very ungrounded and unbalanced if you don't have the grounding of awareness of you're in a system. You're actually in an organized, coherent pattern, but you yourself may be incoherent or disorganized because you're going through a metamorphosis, right? So the image is coming up, and I know a lot of people talk about this caterpillar to butterfly stage, but it's very true because before we become the butterfly, the caterpillar has to go in the cocoon and literally it disseminates and it disintegrates itself cellularly so that it can become something else. So this is definitely with these next 18 months, 17 months now, with this configuration of Pisces and Virgo, South Node being Virgo, North Node we've come to learn Pisces. How can you bring those systems, right? These organizing systems and processes to Pisces, which is what? Our spirituality, the the concept of oneness, the revelation that we are all one. We come from this one energy field. I call it love, but we all come from it and we're all a part of it and we're all connected by it. And so through the processes of Virgo, we're learning exactly how we are connected and how these processes within are starting to manifest and change us without changing our relationships, changing our everything about how we interact with the other in our reflections. Because everything, if all is self, then everybody and everything that comes into your field is an aspect of you. So, how do you integrate that aspect of you with the systems that are already at play within you? That you're starting to realize, whoa, I am being affected by these systems. I am affecting the field and being affected by the field based on how I'm thinking, how I'm feeling, my routines, what I do every day. This is all Virgo. So, what we do in our daily practices is going to directly influence what it is we experience individually, Aries, and also collectively, Pisces. Right now, we're going through asteroids in Pisces right now. So, we just came into Pisces season on the 21st, 22nd, depending on your time zone. So we've got the sun in Pisces, we've got Mercury in Pisces. Again, brain fog, no wonder it's hard to stay grounded. This is why it's so important to be with your practices, right? Because Virgo is an earth sign and it will ground you, which is the opposition of Pisces, is what we need right now. It's that grounding point so that we can integrate all these energies, these psychic impressions, this sort of being in oneness. But how do you bring it down? I'm thinking it seemed like a tree, right? So we've got all these branches that we're a part of. How do you bring all that to the root system, to your one individuated self, right? So it's through practice. It's through the consistency of what you do through your routines, what you do daily. So it's been for me, and maybe you guys can relate, and you can put it in the comments if you can. It's been learning new routines and learning how to be in your body, in your mind, in your spirit differently because we're in a different phase of this thing. We are going through an astrological metamorphosis, becoming literally the butterfly, becoming the new human. So the human that we once identified as being divinely human is actually shifting. Again, we talked about the gene keys earlier, and Richard Runn talks about homo luminous, right? Returning into the human of light rather than the carbon body that we've been born into. We're becoming more of a crystalline structure. I think of salt, right? And I think of crystals, how you can grow crystals. And if you guys want to check out the crystal growing process online, you can check out YouTube. It's a process, it's structure, right? It's becoming this structured form of the divine, which is very much what Virgo is about. It's structure, it's processes. And we're in these processes. So wherever you are in your process, I'm here to remind you and to let you know you're exactly where you need to be. Even if you're feeling lost, even if you're feeling cloudy up in the, that's okay. Because Pisces, this Pisces party that we're part of, is giving us the grace and the acceptance to be in this fog. So when I did a collective card pull, or I did a card pull for myself today, well, one of the cards that came up was fog, right? So you can see here that, see, this is kind of like the sun coming from the clouds, which right now I'm in Kentucky and it's actually snowing here today, thinking like, wow, okay, we're getting snow in February, but it's just very cloudy out, right? It's very foggy. It's and it's perfect. It's making me slow down. It's making me be more in my body. Making me be very present. So while we are all, depending on where you are, and again, this is also to created, guys, with where you are hormonally, because this is also tied into the body, right? So the processes of the body is reflecting on how you are dealing with things emotionally, Pisces, which is emotion. So how do you work with the energy of fog or unclarity? I don't know about you guys, but for a long time, I felt um, I would identify unclarity as like I would judge myself, very Virgo. Excuse me. I would judge myself as you're just being flighty, you know, all these words that I would identify as not being grounded, um, woo woo, if you will, right? You're being woo woo, you're being ungrounded, you're being unstable. So, what's right about this? I love to ask the question, what's right about this? Because in this Pisces party right now, we're being asked to love ourselves unconditionally. We've also got Saturn. I want to go back into what's this Pisces party that we're part of, and the planetary energies and configurations that are part of this configuration. Um, so we've got Saturn, which is our routine, it's our structure. Again, these crystalline structures and processes is coming through Saturn, saying, look, there are great rewards on the other side of these processes if you can stay consistent, if you can stay persistent at grounding into your body, and have these days where you're foggy, where you feel uncertain. That's actually part of the process. That's like that caterpillar that's kind of laying in the cocoon that doesn't know what it's becoming, but it's all its insides are just morphed into nothing because it's becoming something else. So can you become nothing to become something? And coming out of Pisces season, where we're wrapping up a lot of karmic cycles, we've been, a lot of these planetary energies, especially Neptune and Saturn, have been in Pisces, and they're about to switch signs going into Aries, right? And so you can talk. A lot of astrologers have been talking about what that exactly means, and we can go into that, further on down the road. But what does it mean right now? It means we're in this liminal space of becoming something else, but having to dissolve, literally dissolve. So you may find yourself losing interest in people, things, places, jobs, relationships, eating patterns. It's like dissolving away because what the caterpillar ate, the butterfly doesn't want to eat, right? So, in this interesting space, what I have found to really help, again, Virgo going into processes, going into the body, how I can work with my body's energy forms to help my mental, to help my spiritual, my emotional bodies stay in coherence and balance. It's directly related to what I eat, to how I'm thinking, to what I'm drinking, right? It's directly related to the physical. So this Virgo season, this Virgo South Node, what I'm pulling from is like, you know how to do this, but you got to be consistent with your spiritual practices. So, what are your spiritual practices? What do you do every day that's consistent or that can be consistent? And are your practices changing? Are your routines changing it up? Because what the caterpillar would do every day is not what the butterfly is going to do every day, right? So, again, you're in this transition space of the caterpillar to the butterfly. And so your processes are going to change. It's about embodying and allowing the processes to come up and to reflect on them without judgment and without being overcritical, because this can be the shadow or the dark side of Virgo. It's overcriticism, right? Nitpicky, perfectionism. If you can be okay with the imperfection, which is even in the word imperfect, which is I'm perfect. It's a perfect process. We're just becoming aware of it. And that's what the Saturn in Pisces and Neptune in Pisces has really shown us as a collective of there are structures, there are laws, there are operating systems that are at work that are divine in nature, that are divinely perfect, that have the blueprint of perfection. But what we need to shift is the mind fog, is to clear. Is to clear our bodies, is to clear our minds, our hearts, our blood, whatever clearing means for or your space, right? So clarity, that's what's coming in. But in order to have clarity, you have to have the fog, right? This is also duality. You have to have one without the other. So if you don't have the fog, you're not going to enjoy or know what it means to be clear, right? So if your space wasn't dirty, you wouldn't know the joy and the dopamine release of cleaning and looking at a clean space, right? It's the same thing as above, so below. And what another configuration I wanted to share with you with this Pisces party that we've got going on. Also, yeah, we talked about the North Node and Pisces coming, what we've come to learn. But what's interesting is that we've had this incredible trine. Trine is, you think of like a triangle. Trines are harmonious energies that where the energies flow coherently. And we have this interesting trine right now, exactly with Saturn and Mars. Saturn is our taskmaster or planet, and Mars has been retrograde in Cancer. Um, and so retrogrades is always about redoing, going inward. And it's been retrograde in Cancer for a long time. And Mars has been in Cancer for a long time, back since I think September, October. And it's going to be until I believe the end of April. So we've got this, and let's think about Cancer and the energy of Cancer, which is about family. Astrologically, they say it's about the mother because it's ruled by the moon, which is our feminine nature. It also has to do with our sense of security, of safety, of comfort, of home, the hearth. This is a very Vesta energy as well. I'm going to look to see. Yeah, and Vesta's in Scorpio right now, so that makes sense. And that which is also another trine energy, right? So it's exactly a trine of Vesta Scorpio. It's like I've got to transform matters of the family, of the home, of my sense of security by what? Taking daily action by connecting to spirit first. So this is the download that I received today that I wanted to share with you guys. And again, thank you if you guys are still here watching. I really appreciate you being here. Again, it's kind of a weird start, but hey, we're getting going, right? Better to show up and mess up than than not show up at all. And this is part of that reclamation. This part of the energy, the trine, the harmonious knowing that look, there's things in your life that have to change. Patterns, routines, ways of looking at things, ways of interacting with your world, ways of interacting with yourself, with your food, with you drink, with how you sleep. All this is connected because all of it is transfiguring right now. And the gift, excuse me, because I've had this cough, because I'm healing. A lot of heart stuff. There was a lot of stuff in my chest. So I realized emotionally that was connected to heart um, stuff. Well, that's another thing you guys can pay attention to too. Is if you're out of imbalance physically, it's usually because there's something going on mentally or emotionally. That the last place for it to show up in the body is physically. So if you've had chronic illness, which would be very Saturnian, or if you had acute, you know, bouts of things that are just coming up unexpectedly fast happening, that's Mars. It's showing where the body is balancing itself. It's self-regulating. And the practices, the Virgonian practices of the South Node is telling us, look, there are herbs, there are ways to move our bodies, there are ways to think that are healthy and that can help the body process everything you're going through, including your spiritual uh, aspect. It's all connected. So as we're stepping into this remembrance of the systems, of knowing, oh, yeah, everything has a system, right? Everything has a process, including my evolution, including my ascension, right? Saying this if we're all speaking to ourselves, you are in the process of ascension. And ascending just means to elevate, to rise, to raise your energy. And as we're all in these processes, there's going to be um, universal experiences as humans that we all have. So, you know, my experience with Saturn and Pisces, especially, and for those also too, Saturn and Pisces is the end of things, which Saturn astrologically rules the father because it rules Capricorn, which I think is the grandmother, but that's another story. I think father is Jupiter. But historically, when you look at Saturn, most people think masculine, right? The father form. And for those of you that have dealt with any kind of death, my father just recently passed away January 27th on a 9 day, which, this is a 9 year, and the moon was in Capricorn that day, which is the father, right? There were so many correspondences to see. And plus, it was the planetary alignment on around January 25th, January 25th, when he decided to transcend. So it's so interesting because everybody's relationship to death is going to be very personal. And my relationship to death has been, well, shit. I think we die every time we go to sleep, and we're reborn every right. There's macro events that happen that show a micro cycle, right? So there's like cycles within cycles within cycles. So the death process is not what we think. And I feel, because I was able to tune into my dad when he transitioned, and it was actually able to be there psychically. I wasn't there physically, but psychically with him. And my dad was showing me that, not to be sad. And one of the greatest takeaways that he was showing me with this Pisces configuration, this is coming in now, and he was a Virgo, by the way, um, is that we suffer when we don't let love in. And he kept showing me, and I was feeling the energy, and I saw him like jumping around and happy, and like, because he was actually very debilitated and suffering in his body for a long time. He came here to learn suffering. So in my own personal egoic human mind, I was so grateful to see him not suffering anymore. And he was showing me that the greatest suffering that we experience as humans is the suffering of not loving or letting love in. And he kept showing me, baby girl, just keep loving yourself more and more and more. Your life is beautiful. And allow yourself to see your life is beautiful. Just let love in. Love yourself so that you can experience it. And it was so profound and deep and simple. But man, you'd be surprised at when you're on the daily looking at the habits, Virgo, and your daily routines going, wow, is this my most loving expression? Is this the most loving thing I can do for my body, for my heart, for my mind right now? You'd be surprised how many just unconscious behaviors a lot of us have adopted throughout the years or inherited from our ancestors that have not allowed us to be our most loving, compassionate selves, which is very much Pisces. So this is changing, right? So this is the awareness is like, wow, I just have to love myself more and that will help the world. It seems so simple, but it's not easy, right? So yeah, it's people talk about, oh yeah, just love yourself. You're going to be great. It doesn't work that way. For those of us who are on this path of ascension, of becoming better humans, you're going to have to deal with all the parts of you that do not love your own humanity, that do not love your body. The enemy is within. People talk about the spiritual warfare it's going on from the Gnostic point of view. The spiritual warfare is happening within. It's your animal nature versus your conscious nature, right? Our instinctual actions that we just take because we're just unconscious, right? Very much like an animal does, right? They just do what they need to do and they don't think about it, they just do, which is fine. We have that as part of us. But we also have the conscious parts of us that say, wait a minute, I may be craving this sugary sweet, but is it good for me? So we have that discernment. We have the ability to question our carnal nature, our instinctual nature, if you will. Excuse me, which is very much what with this retrograde of Mars, our action planet being retrograde in Cancer. It's like, wow, have I just taken actions on unconscious things that I learned from family, from watching behaviors and patterns from mom and dad, from how the ancestors did it? And do I need to now bring, well, it's happening anyway because we're metamorphosizing, but do we need to bring new structures, new, new, implementing new processes into where we're moving astrologically and evolutionary wise? Where there needs to be new processes because what was done in the past is no longer relevant or no longer sustainable. And that's from your everyday and from the world around. You can see that even the way businesses are run, we need to change everything. And again, these are bigger conversations for another time. And but I wanted to stay focused here. It's that energy. Um, Mercury. Take a breath. So let me go into the second aspect, moving, talking about the Cancer. The second card I pulled was for, it says childhood innocence. So you can see the first card here where the fog, it was foggy, right? And the sun's rays are starting to shine. And then this card here, we're looking at the rays of the sun coming down and it's coming into beaming down on the children, right? So this is our inner child. This is Cancer. This is Mars in Cancer, taking action of our inner child, doing things instinctually. Again, Mars is instinct in a playful, innocent way, but without being naive. Again, Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac. So we've been, with Saturn too, especially, we've been asked to mature certain aspects of us, but you can still be an adult with a maturation and still have your innocence. But it's not being naive. It's being curious, seeing what's in front of you without fear, but of curiosity, with wonderment, with asking what is this about, rather than assuming or just going automatically to the fear factor, which is very much Pisces. But it's asking, well, what process am I in? If I'm seeing something in front of me, instead of immediately fearing it or thinking what's wrong with it or gloom and dooming it, which a lot of us tend to do. We always go for the what's wrong with this. Well, what if you ask what's right with this? What is my inner child experiencing right now? How can my inner child experience this energy coming out of the fog, going into the sun, and having this playful nature with the energy that's around you? That's one thing when my dad transitioned and he keeps showing me, he's like, baby girl, just keep having fun. This life is fun. The heaviness is about how we think about life. But if you just experience the wonderment of it by being present, being in your innocence, being in your heart, this life can be beautiful. And so that's what my dad, and as still conversing with him, I'll never stop conversing with him, but um, he's showing me right now as he transitioned that he did not die, if you will. His energy transformed, and so he's giving me these codes, these downloads, which is very much about Mars and Cancer as well, which is the ancestors. And this is happening in my sixth house, so you guys want to check out if you want to see where these transits are happening. You can always reach out to livzenastrology. We can get more in depth with it. But for me in particular, the Cancer, I'm looking at, when I'm looking at my own chart these days, I'm looking at my relocated progressed. So because I'm nomadic, I change areas quite a bit. And I know that the energies of the planets and the cosmos are affecting me based on those geographical points and based on where I'm at right now, like the age that I'm at. So it's good to have your natal chart, but if you want to have be very current and present with the energies that are at play, you want to look at your progressed relocated. And so my progressed relocated is Cancer in the sixth house, which is health, which is a Virgo house, which is service, work and service to others. It's our daily routine. And so what I'm being shown is, wow, where my roots were, my routines were in thoughts that were not so loving, that were in judgment, that were in criticism. That's what needs to shift. That's what needs to change. That's what this retrograde is affording us, is an opportunity to go back and rewire, rewrite, re-alchemize these processes that we have learned from childhood to be more conducive to who we are now as an adults with this now time moment. And being willing to tune into the divine, your divine nature, before you take any action. That let that be your practice, right? So whatever it is that you're here to be of service to, whether it's, starting a new job, showing up in your work in a different way, serving others in a new capacity, because again, we're coming into this Aries configuration where we are ourselves individuated are going to show up differently. We're going to show up more autonomous. We're going to show up more with more energy, with more fire, with more what word am I looking for? Ingenuity. So this is all going to be coming up in the middle of 2025 and going into 2026, but we're starting to feel the beginnings of these stirrings. And so as we're being asked to show up for ourselves, we are asked to connect to our divine essence every day before you take any action, right? So, and a lot of people talk about this, coaches, teachers, which, gosh, I don't like either of those terms. I think I finally resolved to facilitator because which is so interesting to talk about the paradoxical energy, because my North Node natally is Sagittarius. So I've come to learn to be the teacher. And yet I have this rebellious nature against teaching or being called a teacher, which is so interesting. I think, well, I've got Aquarius on my third house, which is how I think. So Aquarius just wants to be different. So, because in my belief system, I feel and I think that I'm not here to teach you anything. I'm just here to hold the codes inside of me and to share my authentic expression. And you're going to remember what you already know. It's already in your DNA, right? Our DNA are like memory banks. It's like data storage. So you already have everything. There's nothing new under the sun. Everything that's ever been done, will be done, has been done. I feel and believe it's already in your DNA. It's just activating it. It's just putting the light on it. It's allowing it to be charged or focused. And it's happening anyway. Again, we think we have control of this thing, but it's just happening naturally. So the more you can stay present in your processes, even the processes that you've never maybe experienced before, I say stay with it. Stay in the flow, stay in the curiosity, stay in the wonderment of the energy, and look at things through new eyes, not through what you've already seen, but what could be. Using your imagination, very much Pisces. And again, we have right now, because we've got this trine happening with Mars and Saturn, and now I'm realizing with Vesta, this is the last card that came through was Waterfall, which is effortless. So again, this is very much about water. Pisces is water. And waterfall to me is very Scorpio because it's fixed water, but it's also allowing things to flow, and let go. So what is coming into mind to me is if you want to heal it, you got to feel it. And sometimes with Scorpio and Pisces and Cancer, things can get very intense, very emotional, right? Very emotionally charged. Memories, which is also ruled by the moon and Cancer, can be brought forth during this time and looked at and reflected on that can be very dense, can bring up stuff that was not always the best. Our patterns, right? From not just our own, but our ancestral patterns, those things that need to be changed that maybe we still have in our body that have charged us, right? That have, I would say, even emotionally locked you in um, to these ways of thinking and being. And actually, Joe Dispenza talks about how, there's actually chemicals in the body that when you think a certain thought, those chemicals are re-released, the same chemicals that were created during that trauma. Every time you think about that trauma, those same chemicals will come up and to be released again to almost re-traumatize you, if you will. So this is where the alchemy is coming in. It's like taking that pain and suffering and turning it into forgiveness and compassion. It's an alchemy, and it happens within the heart. It happens on a cellular level. It can, and that's where Virgo's coming in and saying, look, these transformative, transfigurative energies can happen, but you've got to do the work. For Virgo, it's about work, right? So if you want a different reality and experience, you got to do things differently. So if you know that, imbibing with this substance or this person or this relationship or this job is toxic, that's what's changing. You have to change it if you want a different experience with it. So these toxicities are leaving. And Pisces rules also toxic, it rules diseases, mysterious diseases. So if anybody here that's watching this channel has anything going on physically that you can't put a finger on, you don't know where it's coming from, you've been to many doctors, holistic practitioners, this is the time to go inward and ask your higher self, the version of you that's perfect, that doesn't have any diseases, that lives on, we're multidimensional beings, right? So that lives in the dimension that it doesn't have suffering. Can you access that version of you to say, hey, what is going on here where I'm suffering, Pisces? In this realm that I'm ready to release and let go of the suffering. I'm ready to alchemize it. And is it suffering that I inherited? Is it from my parents? Is it from my ancestors, grandparents? Where did the suffering originate? Go to the point of where it originated, either through thought or just intention. You don't even have to remember it because sometimes that might be too traumatic. Just say, hey, I don't even have to know where this came from. Just go to that 0 point now where this originated, alchemize it through compassion and love, forgiveness. What do I need to forgive? Who do I need to love more? First of all, it's probably self. How can I love myself more? And then what actions can I take on the daily that shows that self love, which is very much Virgo? It's by what you eat, you drink, you think, you consume. It's all of it, right? So this is not about criticizing them, but it's about an honest assessment as, are you participating in your life in the way that you know can serve you? Or are you just stuck in patterns and routines and habits? And that's okay, because I was stuck in patterns and routines and habits. We all are. This is part of why it's so interesting being human, because anybody that you're watching or you listen or you're talking to, we've all done it. We've all been there. We've all experienced some level of this disconnect, this trying to do better but not knowing how, stuck in old routines and patterns because it's familiar. Again, the word familiar is familial. It's what you're used to. And so it's time, it's not even time, it's already happening that we're raising the bar of what we're used to, because those old ways of being have dropped away. They had to, like the caterpillar is dissolving. We are metamorphosizing and becoming something completely different. Gene Key 55. We are becoming the new human right now, right here, today, right now. There is no time. Time is nothing but the now. And so if you're, again, watching this channel or here for this transmission, thank you so much. It's a little long-winded and I'm kind of out of practice, but I'm getting the wheels running again, because honestly, I missed sharing with you guys. I missed connecting with the collective. I'm here for the collective. I'm here for it. I've got Scorpio Sun in the 11th house, groups, organizations. So I'm here to shine my light through the Scorpionic way, which is what? The transformer. And then my moon and my Mercury, my moon is how I feel, and Mercury, how I think, is also in Scorpio in the 12th house, which is ruled by Pisces, which is the collective energy, right? Which is all of us. So I know that I'm here to do Scorpio And to learn Sagittarius, to be the teacher, even though I do not like the word teacher, the divine rememberer. I don't know, maybe you guys can put in the comments what other word I can use besides teacher, because I have this resistance to stepping into my North Node because of the word language, right? I have to go. This is another layer, maybe where I need to go and do some alchemy on teaching, and maybe where I'm just hearing this right now. Where in childhood, I maybe had a teacher that I didn't like, and therefore I don't like teachers. It just came in right now, so I'm gonna have to go in and do the work through meditation to figure out which teacher pissed me off, what part of my childhood I got triggered. Where is that holding in my body? Where am I holding that in my body? I'm tuning into my body right now, where I held this childhood memory of not being a teacher. Yeah, it's coming in right here, my crown. Just taking a moment to feel what part of your body's activated. See, this is part of the process. This is alchemy right now. This is divine alchemy happening live. I just caught my own shit, caught my own resistance. Still want to be of service, Virgo, but still alchemy, having to do more alchemy of the resistance and the self-sabotaging tendencies that we have to potentially stop our creations, because again, we still have shit that we're dealing with. We still have stuff from the past that we've got to alchemize, right? So gonna drink some more orange juice. It just came off of fast, so we could talk more about that. To fast when your seed drops, and what does that even mean? So yeah, maybe I'll do this transmission tomorrow, or getting back on the ball, rolling here, transmitting the energy as I'm feeling it. Um, You know what? I'm going to pull a card for the collective. I've got this Louise Hay deck that I work with, which is Love Your Body. It's a 44 deck card that just, it's part of my meditation practice when I'm tuning into the energy and tuning into, because I see the physical body as the earth, because as above so below, we are the earth, right? The earth, the heart, that the physical representation of the body is actually the earth. And so how we treat the earth is how we treat ourselves. And so sometimes I like to work with these cards to ask which part of the earth or my body needs most support right now. And so I'm going to ask collectively, which part of the earth body that we are all representing, if you're here, could use some support, some nurturance, some help. Oh, two came out right now. I love my ankles. So this is the ankles, and it says, my ankles give me mobility and direction. I release all fear and guilt. I move in the direction of my highest good. And ankles is ruled by Aquarius. So, right. So this is another way to kind of cross-reference yourself. So Aquarius, you would look in your chart to see what's going on with Aquarius right now. Well, we know we've got Pluto in Aquarius, right? So again, here we are talking about the transformer. We got to transform how we move through the world, and we've got to release and alchemize fear and guilt. So anywhere you've been hanging on to fear and guilt about maybe your daily practices, maybe there's habits you need to get rid of, there's some substances that you need to switch out. Don't be fearful and guilty, just do it. Just and maybe even do some happy baby, grab your ankles, do some, yoga moves. Again, the alchemy is already happening. Pluto right there is transforming it, whether you're ready for it or not. So at least this way you get some guidance and some direction and some intuitive perception on what it is that what part of the body you can be working with. So I would even do some ankle rolls, through your ankles, um, you know, massage them, use some oils on that part of your body, because that's part of the earth that needs support right now, which is your body, which is cosmically Aquarius, which is asking for support right now. And then the second one is the spleen. I love my spleen. This says, I choose to experience the sweetness of life. My true identity is one of peace, love, and joy. So it also kind of tells you where the spleen is located if you don't know in the body, where it's kind of like yeah, that's where it is. So, and this is another thing too with Virgo, with South Node and Virgo. Maybe it's good to reacclimate yourself to parts of the body, uh, to even anatomy, to knowing how things work. Again, learning your systems, learning how these systems work, because it's happening within you. And if you know that maybe you're carrying in your spleen um, anything that is resistant to the sweetness of life, to peace, love, and joy. If you want more of that in your life, then maybe start working with the spleen, do a detox, right? These are just ways of navigating our consciousness, our body, Virgo, into our spiritual practices, Pisces, do it on the daily routine. That's our root system. It's like watering our roots because the roots that we all have come from as a human consciousness, they've been so entangled and entwined that using the alchemy and the fire of Scorpio and of Pluto, we're all being uprooted. We're getting new sources of sustenance and nourishment, a new root system, if you will. And how we do that is by our actions, about how we think, about how we take action daily on everything that we're doing in our lives. Again, if you want something different, you got to do something different and connect to the divine every day before you make any kind of move. So what's coming in for me right now is like, okay, this is also work in service to others. So with Virgo, I'm going to be starting a new concierge business, side hustle, if you will, as an entrepreneur. A lot of us here who are shout outs to fellow entrepreneurs who are always having side hustles, also following our passion, astrology, but also having to pay the bills, right? And so until the astrology fully takes off and I can fully commit to the astrology, which is also North Node in Sagittarius, I've had to learn to commit. Challenging. But I love astrology and that's never going anywhere, right? But it's learning to be consistent and showing up. So this is my passion. But what's going to pay the bills? So you might be called, this is also Virgo, to be of service differently in your daily practices to earn income. But also, again, if we're here to learn Pisces, always be connected to your divine source before you do anything. So yeah, you got to go out there and you got to work, right? You got to generate income. However it is that you decide to do it, connect to the divine essence of you first and then go create. Because once you're connected through your spiritual practices, whatever that means for you, I'm not here to tell you what the spiritual practices are because that's up to you. For me, mine is getting up early. The first thing before I even get out of bed is I breathe gratitude. I thank my body. I even have my timer, my alarm. I can read this to you because it's what I have to do, right? I have to program myself into these things. So my 6:33, I like to work with 369 codes. My 6:33 a.m. alarm says, begin today with a sacred breath and say what you are grateful for now, every day. And even have that on my phone. Oh, my phone is dirty. Virgo criticism. See, here we go. So this is what I say. This is my alarm. And then you can set the alarms. This is what I also am practicing. I don't know if you guys can see that. At 12 p.m., at 3 p.m., and at 6 p.m., I have the alarms. Oh, I had to have them set, but I had it now. But I was working with these codes as well because it's anchoring it in. It's reminding you. So even if you just set yourself an alarm to remind yourself to be grateful for something, because this can be a very dense time. Saturn and Pisces it can be depression, which my gosh, between my dad transitioning and it's like my mind is looking for an excuse or a reason to be depressed. It's because so that's been the habit for so long. Is depression, anxiety, for unknowing, fear of the unknown, all that shit. And I'm kind of sick of it. My inner child here is like, I'm done with fear. I'm done with depression. I just want to look into the sun. I just want to play. I just do want to do the things that make me feel good, that make me feel happy, that make me feel at peace in my life and with everything around me. And so this requires the inner work. This requires the diligence of Virgo, which thank goodness we've come. We remember, we know how to do this. We just have to apply it to our spiritual lives and then everything else will take care of itself. Truly. Connect to the divine and take action from that space of connectivity and it's going to be effortless. That's what it's saying. It's like, dude, the effort is in the connecting. But once you're connected, then just move from that space of love and joy and innocence, and everything will be more than okay. That's when you're going to start seeing the synchronicities. That's when the abundance comes. You're going to feel healthier in your body. All of a sudden you have these, new relationships because you're really on your purpose. You're really in your path. You're really embodied. In other words, you're in your body. And so you're going to meet other people who are also in their bodies and embodying the joy and the love and the innocence. See, so it's We're all connected. We're not meant to do this life alone, and we're not doing this life alone, even though sometimes it can be feel very solo and very um, like we are doing it alone. We're not. And so this is just here as a fellow astro guide, as a fellow explorer of this consciousness, of this what it means to be human, to show up, to share my voice, to share my perspective. Again, I hope you have found value. I hope this helps you, inspires you, gives you some clarity. And even if you're not clear, that's okay. I see my alarm's going off. There it is. Time to move on to the next chapter. Anyway, thank you guys for being here. Thank you for connecting. And it's been a while, but I hope to be back online more consistently. And it's good to see you guys. Thank you for sharing your energy and your time. Again, we're not meant to do this world alone, and we're not doing it alone. We're all in this field of energy of consciousness together. So stay steadfast, stay in your practices. You got this. I love you guys. All right. So much love. Bye.